Ďakujem veľmi pekne. Prepáčte, My name is Andrey Ivanov, and I work for United Nations Development Program in Bratislava. And today I would like to talk about sustainable human development, economic growth, and garbage. What is sustainable human development? Let's start with this. It's very simple, actually. Human development is a concept which says that the ultimate purpose of the entire process is to make people's life healthier, to give them opportunities to live long and healthy life, to be well educated, to have the freedom to exercise this knowledge, and to have decent incomes to live their life out of poverty. The sustainability element comes in the form that we have to be able to achieve all that without depleting the environment or without passing on unaffordable debts to our next generations, which are our children. So there is a really interesting paradox. Nobody objects to these ideas. Everybody agrees. But still, sustainable human development is not yet the dominating development and political paradigm. We are still running the momentum that first we need to have economic growth, and then maybe at some point we'll come up to the stage where we can afford sustainable human development. In moments of economic crisis, the reason is, well, we cannot afford this because now first we need to fix the economy, provide jobs, and later we go to sustainability. When there is economic dynamics, we say, well, we don't need to change because anyway, life is perfect anyway, so why change? And at the end, we are stuck in this cycle of having growth and no sustainability of human development objectives. I think this is totally wrong, and I'm working on this for 15 years, and I think this is one of the lessons which I have learned. Unless we do economic development with sustainable human development as the ultimate disciplining objective, we are getting nowhere. And I will show you the example. I will illustrate this idea with an example from my own city. I am born in Bulgaria, and I lived part of my life there. So this is my city. It's a really gorgeous place, a very vibrant city located near the mountains. And actually, you can take the bus and go. There are the skiing slopes and go skiing. And as any big city, Sofia is generating a lot of garbage. Unlike many big cities, Sofia doesn't have recycling facilities. It does not mean that there is no recycling taking place of this garbage, which is usually collected on the streets. But it takes place in a very decentralized manner, labor-intensive. Simply marginalized people are going around the dustbins and selecting either paper or metal or other scrap. So part of this is recycled, but there is a problem that at least the rest of the garbage needs to be taken somewhere. And the problem is that, in fact, the city garbage area, garbage field is full. It has been closed and reopened several times. And the solution has been found to pack the garbage in bales, to transport them to different locations. This is one of the sites. Sometimes it's stored in old industrial facilities which are not used, or sometimes just left to be waiting for some better times. And as you see, the garbage has its own life cycle. As we all are getting older, so the garbage it gets older as well. Some of them starts leaking and decomposing and so on and so forth. So apologies for this unpleasant picture, but at least I have spared you the smell. The smell is really unpleasant. Why I'm sharing this? Because it's not just a problem of one city and one country. I think it illustrates a global issue. We witness a global scale operation of collecting, baling, transporting garbage. In the case of Sofia, the entire cycle, if you look at it from economic perspective, is purely logical. People operating the baling facility are in employment and they have income. The drivers who are operating the trucks drive, go here and there, They spend fuel. Fuel suppliers are happy because the turnover is increasing. The road is being perhaps devastated, but the repairing workers are also happy. They have work to fill the potholes and so on and so forth. The entire cycle, in fact, contributes to the gross domestic product, and it's purely economically reasonable. Is it reasonable from human development perspective? Does it increase our opportunities to live healthier lives? I doubt so. Does it bring more satisfaction to people involved in this? I also doubt so. Does it bring more knowledge, and so on and so forth? But the bigger problem is about sustainability. When I mentioned that it is reflecting a global phenomenon, I mean that thanks to the globalization, we have this stream of goods and services being shipped in from China and Southeastern Asia to United States, Western Europe, and other rich countries. And back we have containers with garbage shipped back to be processed, to simply dumped somewhere in other countries. And the problem in my mind is not the fact that the rate of recycling is low. Indeed, if we recycle more, it would be better. The problem is the sheer amount of garbage and the economic model which is behind this. And in my mind, the economic model is based on the principle we spend money we don't have, running debts, to buy things which actually we don't need, and we do so in a way which is devastating for the environment. Why devastating for the environment? Because we all have impact. We consume resources producing garbage, but we take these resources from the planet. For centuries, it was a different pattern. People were somehow being a burden for the planet, but the planet had the capacity to regenerate itself. This is, by the way, a picture which I asked my daughter to draw, and I think it gets the message right. Somewhere around end of the 70s, beginning of the 80s of the last century, we reached a balance where the amount of resources depleted and consumed is roughly equal to the regeneration capacity of the planet. Since then, we are running a totally different model, when in fact we don't have the capacity to regenerate, and we are depleting the absolute amount of the resources. It does not mean that the planet will disappear. It will continue to be just one another planet. What will disappear is our possibility and opportunity to live the life which we are living. How did it come to this is an interesting question. I think one of the reasons is that for centuries, human civilization was running under the assumption of infinite resources. It was just out there. Just go and take it. The nature was providing everything. We just now start realizing that, in fact, it is not like that. The resources are not infinite, and we have the obligation to do something to pass the planet in this shape to our children. I mentioned garbage several times, and in fact, the core of the problem is this cycle behind the garbage. Because we are running an unsustainable model of consumption, which is in fact fueling its own purpose. It's consumption for the sake of consumption, growth for the sake of growth, and not for some human or other development purposes. I think it's a good example also of the law of diminishing returns. With every new purchase of some appliance or car or something like that, the benefits from human perspective are diminishing. We're getting lower benefits from the previous. Just an example, we are buying new cars not because the old one is collapsing, simply the new model is somehow fancier, nice looking, the color is, this season is maybe metallic, is more fashionable than red, and so on. We're buying new computers not because the old is crap or it collapses. It is crap because it does not handle the new software, which needs additional speed, additional processing memory, and so on and so forth. For what? For the same purpose, running some applications which are roughly the same. And you can continue with these examples, mobile phones or anything else. So unless we stop this somehow, we will be going into a very, very strange direction. In fact, facing the wall which these garbage bales somehow symbolize. To put this message in figures, people living in developed, so-called developed countries consume between 30 and 32 times more resources and produce 32 times more garbage than people living in so-called developing countries. If the consumption patterns of people living in developing countries is supposed to reach the pattern of the developed countries, then we will have to use the resources of roughly 3-4 planets. There is a debate, is it exactly 3, is it 2.5, is it 4? But I think the debate is ridiculous because we have only one. And this one planet, I think it's there, and it's up to us somehow to balance this. I started with the figure 7 billion. This year, and this is the reason why I'm saying this, sharing this with you. This year, population of the Earth will reach 7 billion. By 2050, it will be roughly 9 billion. So, in order to have this bunch of people somehow packed in a sustainable manner, we need to change something. And the equation is simple. The number of the population and the consumption pattern. What is under our control is only the consumption pattern. So what we can, and I think should do, is some simple things. There are 3. In my mind, first, we should know, we should understand, we should realize what is our impact. What is the impact of the individual consumption choices we make on an everyday basis? If I go and buy a new laptop or a new furniture or a new stove, how does it translate in terms of the impact on the planet? Also, we should communicate this to our friends, to people we know, hoping that we'll get the message through. The second thing which we can change, I think, is applying this in our everyday consumer behavior. You will be surprised if you start thinking, actually, do I need this or that? When you start thinking in this direction, it's a very interesting logic. And the third is, in fact, exercising our choice, our freedom not to buy, not to succumb to the next shopping or other therapy or next advertisement which is trying to seduce us to this or that purchase, even if we don't need it. Because unless we do that, the production cycle will keep on reinforcing itself. Producers will be producing more, will be inclined and encouraged to borrow more, to buy more so that we produce more, and so on, ending in this enormous pile of garbage. If we start behaving in this human development centered and rational consumer behavior, we will transmit a message to the producers, and then we have a chance that they change the patterns of production. And I think, I hope, if we do that, then we have a future and our children have a future. Thank you.